What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex, and you're watching The Road to TF5. This is just Webster's. We're talking about Transformers 5. This is episode number 10. And in the previous episodes, all we've really been talking about is speculation and rumors. Nothing solid. But now we finally have some solid information. There's a new development here. I wouldn't really say it's a new development, but we kind of knew that, we kind of knew about this already. But the man himself is here to shed some new light on the situation to confirm some details. Alright, when we first heard about the success of Transformers Age of Extinction, there was a lot of talk about whether Michael Bay and also Mark Wahlberg was going to be back. And apparently Mark Wahlberg signed a multi-picture deal. Alright, he didn't specify how many movies, he didn't specify that he did sign a multi-contract deal. He just said that, well, you know, when you sign on to these movies, they want you to sign on for more films. That's all he said. But he didn't say anything solid like, I'm signed on for 2 more films. Okay? But it looks like we have a little bit of a confirmation here. And that is Mark Wahlberg is in fact attached to star in a couple of more Transformers films. Alright, let's take a look at his exact quote. Now, this was taken from comicbookmovie.com, which was actually relayed from MTV. Okay, he was interviewed recently on a promotional press tour for his latest film, The Gambler. Okay, and what he said was, I committed to doing a couple more. I can't speak for Mr. Bay, but something tells me we'll be on the set soon. Okay, when he said that we'll be on set soon, he means that Mark Wahlberg and the rest of the crew, the rest of the gang, you know, but he didn't actually mean Michael Bay, because he did say that he couldn't speak for Mr. Bay, as we already know what Michael Bay is planning to do. Or potentially is going to end up doing, is that he's going to be working on his military thriller based off the book called 13 Hours. So that is his deal. But as for Mark Wahlberg, he's committed. He's committed to Transformers 5 and 6 because he did say a couple more. A couple more could mean 2, a couple more could mean 3, but let's just say 2 for now. So he's committed for Transformers 5 and Transformers 6. Michael Bay were unconfirmed. Okay, so it's possible that Mark Wahlberg could be working with Michael Bay again, or it could be Mark Wahlberg under the direction of somebody else, perhaps Jonathan Liebesman. But I'm sure he'd want to work with Michael Bay again, because look at this photo. Look at how happy these guys are. They had so much fun working on Pain and Gain. That is the exact reason why Michael Bay wanted Mark Wahlberg on the set of Transformers Age of Extinction. And I'm sure that Mark Wahlberg would want to work again with Michael Bay. But anyways, so you know what this tells us? This tells us something, okay? It's not just about Mark Wahlberg being in the next Transformers film, all right? It tells us something, and that is the story. The story of Transformers 5 once again follows the characters of Cade Yeager. Now, there has been no word or no confirmation about Nicola Peltz and Shane, not Shane, but the actor. The actor that played Shane, I really forgot his name. Jack Rayner, okay? There's no word that Nicola Peltz and Jack Rayner are signed on for a couple of more films. And you know what? I don't think they're signed on at all. I only think that Mark Wahlberg is signed on. And I think that if they're not signed on, then it's possible that Mark Wahlberg could be doing a solo mission. And that is totally possible. After all, they can totally write them out of Transformers 5. As a matter of fact, they could just say that Jack Rayner, or rather Nicola Peltz, decided to move in with his boyfriend, Jack Rayner, or Shane, right? Tessa and Shane decided to move in together. Or Mark Wahlberg decided to, move away from his kids because he's got a job, somewhere else. Okay, he's got one of those long distance jobs which requires him to be away from home. Okay, so this tells you that we're back to following the story and the character of Cade Yeager. Okay, now it doesn't necessarily have to include his daughter and his daughter's boyfriend. So I'm hoping that they're not included, just because I would love to see a Transformers film that's centered around Mark Wahlberg's character, as opposed to the whole, disapproving father, overprotective father who doesn't want his daughter to have a boyfriend. I don't need to see that anymore, even though he approved of the relationship. Okay, after he's approved of the relationship, then there's no need for that overprotective father story anymore. All right, so Mark Wahlberg as Cade Yeager can be on his own, which means that he can follow the Autobot missions on his own without his daughter getting into trouble again. With the daughter, what is the daughter's purpose for the movie? What purpose does she serve as a character? Well, it's to have the damsel in distress. The damsel in distress creates for more action set pieces. And Michael Bay, he's all about the set pieces and just finding a reason to create a set piece. Well, you got Nicola Peltz as Tessa captured in lockdown ship. Therefore, we create a whole sequence about, rescuing Tessa on lockdown ship. And of course, rescuing Optimus. But still, Michael Bay's style of directing is that he likes to wrap a story around an action sequence. You know what I'm saying? But they're not going to include that. At least I don't think so. At least I don't hope so. I hope that they don't have the Tessa and Shane character anymore. Let's focus on Mark Wahlberg. All right. So this is your first little bit of confirmed information. And he also said that something tells me we'll be on set soon. All right, which means that the 2017, the summer of 2017 release date sounds a lot more plausible. All right, there was no confirmation whether it's coming on 2016 or 2017. All right, but with a quote like that where he says something tells me we'll be on set soon, that means that something tells him that he's going to be receiving that call from the producers, telling him to get ready, get in shape, because we're going to be doing a lot of stunts again, because you're going to be on the set of the next Transformers film. All right? So there you have it. That's all I got to say in this video. I am happy to know that there is some developments and some updates on the status of Transformers 5. This is all we're getting for now. But I think the next biggest question is, who's directing Transformers 5? And also, when is it being released? Exactly when is it being released? That's what I'm really curious about. Having Mark Wahlberg return is actually quite a big deal, because that tells you something about the story. We know we have our first little bit of information of what we can expect to see in the story. Of course, Optimus Prime and Bumblebee are going to be back, and Mark Wahlberg is going to be back. But what can we expect next? Of course, Galvatron. I think that's all we can really confirm right now. But anyways, that's all I got to say in this video. What do you guys think about Mark Wahlberg coming back? Let me know in the comment section below. And also, who do you want to see come back? Alright, you can tell me about that down below. As always, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, the Ragin Nation. Also follow me on Twitter at Ragin Nation. My name's Alex. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace. Move away from his kids, because he's got a job, somewhere else. Okay, he's